Hello my dear students, welcome to Teacher at Home. Today class we are going to learn the 10th chapter sound. How do you come to know that a period is over in your school? How come? You come to know easily that someone is at your door when he knocks on or hear the sound of the doorbell. Doorbell കേൾക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ ഡോർ തുറക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ആ സൗണ്ട് കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. Most of the time you may count that someone is approaching you by just hearing the footsteps. കാൽപാദത്തിന്റെ ഒച്ച കേൾക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ ആരെങ്കിലും അടുത്ത് വരുന്നുണ്ട് എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കുക. You might have played a game called hide and seek, അല്ലേ, ഒളിച്ചുകളി. In this game, person is blindfolded and has to catch the remaining players. കണ്ണടച്ചിട്ട് ബാക്കിയുള്ളവരെ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കണം. How is a blind person able to guess which player is closest to her? ആരാണ് അടുത്ത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവുക? ശബ്ദം കേട്ടിട്ട്, അല്ലേ? Here are certain instruments: harmonium, tabla, flute, sitar. Sound plays an important role in our lives. It helps us to communicate with one another. പരസ്പരം കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ സഹായിക്കും. We hear a variety of sounds in our surroundings. നമ്മുടെ ചുറ്റുപാടും കുറേ അധികം ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റും. Make a list of sounds you hear in your surroundings. In the music room of your school, you can hear the sounds produced by musical instruments like flute, tabla, harmonium. How is sound produced? ശബ്ദം എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്? How does it travel from one place to another? ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് നിന്ന് മറ്റേ സ്ഥലത്തിലേക്ക് എങ്ങനെയാണത് നീങ്ങുന്നത്? How do we hear sound? എങ്ങനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ശബ്ദം കേൾക്കുന്നത്? Why are some sounds louder than others? മറ്റ് സൗണ്ടുകൾ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് നല്ല ഒച്ച? We shall discuss some questions in this chapter. Sound is produced by vibrating body. Sound is vibrating. Touch the school bell when not in use. What do you feel? Again, touch it with producing sound. Can you feel it vibrating? Take a metal plate for a pan. Hang it in a convenient place in such a way that it does not touch any wall. Now strike it with a stick. Do you hear a sound? Touch the plate and pan gently with your finger. Do you feel the vibration? ഒരു പാന് കെട്ടിയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ അതിലേക്ക് ഒരു കോൽ വെച്ച് തട്ടുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അത് ശബ്ദം പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ വൈബ്രേഷൻ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റും. Again strike, means if you are touching we can sense it. Again strike the plate with a stick and hold it tightly with your hands and immediately after striking. Do you still hear the sound? Touch the plate after it stops by producing sound. Can you feel the vibrations now? Take a rubber band, put it around the longer side of the pencil box. Insert two pencil. ഒരു റബ്ബർ ബാൻഡ് എടുക്കുക, പെൻസിൽ ബോക്സിൻ്റെ ചുറ്റായിട്ട് ചുറ്റുന്ന പോലെ ചെയ്യുക. എന്നിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുക? അതിൽ രണ്ട് പെൻസിൽ ഇമേഴ്സ് ചെയ്യുക. Stretch rubber. Now plug the rubber band sometime in the middle. എന്നിട്ട് നടുക്കൊന്ന് ടച്ച് ചെയ്യുക. Do you hear any sound? അപ്പോൾ ഒരു വൈബ്രേഷൻ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റും. Does the band vibrate? As you learned in class 7, the to and fro or back and forth motion of an object അതിനെയാണ് എന്ത് പറയുക? Vibration എന്ന് പറയുക. When a tightly stretched band is plucked, it vibrates and produces sound. When it stops vibrating, it does not produce sound. Take a metal dish, pour water in it. Strike its edge with a spoon. Do you hear a sound? Again strike the dish and then touch it. Can you feel the dish vibrating? Strike the dish again. Look at the surface of water. Do you see any waves there? അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഒരു ഗ്ലാസ് അല്ലെ ഒരു ടംബ്ലർ വെള്ളം എടുത്തിട്ട് അതിലൊരു കോൽ വെച്ച് നമ്മൾ സ്ട്രൈക്ക് ചെയ്താൽ വേവ്സിനെയും കാണാൻ പറ്റും, സൗണ്ടും കേൾക്കാം, അല്ലേ? What change do you observe on the surface of water? Can you explain the change? Is there a hint to connect to sound with the vibrations of a body? Vibrating dish produces waves in water. We can see the vibrating object produces sound. Some cases, vibration are easily visible to us. But in most cases, the amplitude is so small that we cannot see it. How we can feel it? Take a hollow coconut shell. Make a musical instrument, ektara. Coconut എടുത്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ektara, musical instrument ഉണ്ടാക്കി. You can make it with the help of an earthen pot. മൺകലം വെച്ചിട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. Play this instrument and identify its vibrating part. Make a list of familiar musical instruments. Identify the vibrating parts. Veena, stretched string. Tabla, stretched membrane. Many of you might have seen the manjira cymbals, the gadam and the nut mudpots at the cartel and the cartel. These musical instruments are commonly used in many parts of a country. These instruments are simply beaten or struck. Can you name a few other musical instruments of this type? It is manjira. It is gadam. Take 6 to 8 bowls of tumblers, fill them with water up to different levels. 6 tumbler എടുക്കുക അതിലേക്ക് വെള്ളം നിറയ്ക്കുക. Increasing gradually from one end to the other. ഓരോ ഗ്ലാസ്സിലും ലെവല് വ്യത്യസ്തപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. ആദ്യം കുറഞ്ഞു കുറഞ്ഞു കുറഞ്ഞ് പിന്നെ കൂടും. Now take a pencil and strike the balls gently. ഒരു പെൻസിൽ എടുത്തിട്ട് ആ ബോൾസിനെ തട്ടുക. Strike all of them in succession. You will hear a pleasant sound. നല്ല സൗണ്ട് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റും. This is your jaltrang. When we pluck the string of an instrument like the sitar, sound that we hear, it is not only that of a string. Whole instrument is forced to vibrate. It is the sound of the vibration of the instrument that we hear. അപ്പോൾ അതിനെ എന്താണ് ഫോഴ്സ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് വൈബ്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ വൈബ്രേഷൻ്റെ സൗണ്ട് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റും. When we strike the membrane of a mridangam, the sound that we hear is not only that of a membrane, but of the whole body of the instrument. Sound produced by humans. Speak loudly for a while and sing a song. Or buzz like a bee. പാട്ട് പാടുക അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താ സൗണ്ട് ഒച്ചത്തിൽ സൗണ്ട് ആക്കുമ്പോൾ അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ത്രോട്ടിൽ നമ്മുടെ കൈ വയ്ക്കുമ്പോൾ ആ വൈബ്രേഷൻ നമുക്ക് ഫീൽ ചെയ്യാം. ഇൻ ഹ്യൂമൻസ് സൗണ്ട് ഈസ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ബൈ ദ വോയിസ് ബോക്സ് ഓർ ദ ലാറിങ്സ്. Put your fingers on the throat and find a hard lump that seems to move when you swallow. This part of the body is known as the voice box. It is an upper end of the windpipe. 2 vocal cords are stretched across the vocal box, voice box or larynx, such a way that it leaves a narrow slit between them to the passage of air. When the lungs force air through the slit, vocal cords vibrate, producing sound. Muscles attached to the vocal cords can make the cords tight or loose. When the vocal cords are tight and thin, type or quantity of voice is different from that they are loose and thick. Let us see how the vocal cords function. Take 2 rubber strips of the same size. Place these 2 pieces one above the other and stretch them tight. Now blow air through the gap between them. As air blows through the stretched rubber strips, a sound is produced. You can also take a piece of paper with a narrow slit and hold it between your fingers, as shown in the figure. Now blow through the slit and listen to the sound. Our vocal cords produce sound in a similar manner. Vocal cords in a man are about 20 millimeter long and that women are 15 millimeter long. Children can have very short vocal cords. That's the reason why the voices of men and women are children are different. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് വ്യത്യസ്തപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. Sounds need a medium for propagation. When you call up your friend who is standing at a distance, your friend is able to hear your voice. How does the sound propagate to travel to her? Take a metal or a glass tumbler. Make sure that it is dry. Place a cell phone in it. Remember that the cell phone must not be kept in water. Ask your friend to give a ring on his cell phone from another cell phone. Listen to the ring carefully. Surround the rim of the tumbler with your hands. Put your mouth on the opening between your hands. Indicate to your friend to give a ring again. Listen to the ring while sucking air from the tumbler. Does the sound become fainter as you suck air? Remove the tumbler from your mouth. Does the sound become loud again? Can you think of the explanation? Is it possible that the decreasing amount of air in the tumbler had something to do with the decreasing loudness of the ring? Indeed, if you had been able to suck all the air in the tumbler, you will not listen any sound. Actually, sound needs a medium to travel. When air has been removed completely from a vessel, It is said that there is vacuum in the vessel. Sound cannot travel through a vacuum. Does sound travel in liquids? Let's find out. Take a bucket or a bathtub. Take a bucket or a bathtub. Fill it with clean water. Take a small bell in one hand. Shake the bell inside the water to produce the sound. Make sure that the bell does not touch the body of the bucket or the tub. ഒരു ടബിൽ വെള്ളം എടുത്തിട്ട് എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? നമ്മൾ സൈഡിൽ ചെവി വെച്ച് നോക്കുകയാണ് അല്ലേ? എന്നിട്ട് ബെല്ല് അപ്പുറത്തെ സൈഡിലേക്ക് ഇത് ടച്ച് ചെയ്യരുത്. ടച്ച് ചെയ്യാതെ ഒന്ന് റിങ് ചെയ്യാം. Place your hand gently on the water surface. Water should not enter your ear. Can you hear the sound of the bell? Does it indicate that sound can travel through the liquids? Find out if sound can travel through solids also. Take a meter scale or a long metal rod. Meter scale or long metal rod. Hold it at one end of your ear. Ask your friend to gently scratch or tap at the other end of the scale. Can you hear the sound of the scratching? Ask your friends around you if they were able to hear the same sound. You can also perform the above activity by placing your ear at one of the long wooden or metallic table and ask your friend to gently scratch the other end of the table. We find that sound can travel through wood or metal. In fact, sound can travel through any solid. You may perform interesting activities to show that sound can also travel through strings. Have you ever made a toy telephone? Can you say that sound can travel through strings? We have learned so far that vibrating objects produce a sound and it is carried in all directions in a medium. Vibrating sounds, object എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? Sound produce ചെയ്യും അല്ലേ? The medium could be a gas or a liquid or a solid. How do we hear it? We hear sound through our ears. ചെവിയിലൂടെയാണ് കേൾക്കുന്നത്. The shape of the outer part of the ear is like a funnel. When sound enters, it travels down a canal at the end of which there is a thin stretched membrane. It is called eardrum. Shape of the outer part of the ear എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഫണലിലേക്കാണ്. സൗണ്ട് എൻ്റർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ്? കനാൽ കൂടെ എൻ്റർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ thin stretched membrane പോലെയാണ് അല്ലേ? It performs important function. To understand what the eardrum does, let us build a tin can model of the eardrum. Take a plastic or tin can, cut its end. Stretch the piece of rubber balloon across one end of the can and fasten it with the rubber band. Put 4 or 5 grains of dry cereal on the stretched rubber. Ask your friend to speak hooray hooray from the open end. Observe what happens to the grain. Why do the grains jump up and down? Eardrum like a stretched rubber sheet. Sound vibration make the eardrum vibrate. Eardrum sends vibrations to the inner ear. Eardrum and the vibration inner ear like from there the signal goes to the brain. That is how we hear. We must never put a sharp pointed or hard thing into the ear. Can damage the eardrum. Damage eardrum can impair hearing. ചെവി കേൾക്കില്ല നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും സാധനങ്ങൾ ഇട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ. Amplitude, time period and frequency of vibration. We have learned that the to and fro motion of an object is known as vibration. This motion is also called oscillatory motion. I learned in the earlier class that the oscillatory motion at its time period. Number of oscillation per second. ഇതിനെയാണ് എന്ത് പറയുക? ഫ്രീക്വൻസി എന്ന് പറയുക. Frequency expressed in hertz. Symbol എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് Hz. A frequency of 1 hertz is 1 oscillation per second. If an object oscillates 20 times in 1 second, what would be its frequency? You can recognize many familiar objects, sounds without seeing the objects producing them. How is it possible? The sound must be different to enable you to recognize them. Have you ever thought what factors make them different? Amplitude and frequency are two important properties of any sound. Can we differentiate sound on the basis of the amplitude and frequencies? Loudness and pitch. Take a metallic tumbler and a tablespoon. Strike the tablespoon gently at the brim of the tumbler. Hear the sound produced. Now bag the spoon on the tumbler and hear the sound produced again. Is the sound louder when the tumbler is struck hard? Now suspend a small thermocol ball touching the rim of the tumbler. vibrate the tumbler by striking it. See how far the ball is displaced. The displacement of the ball is a measure of the amplitude of vibration of the tumbler. Strike the tumbler gently and then a little harder. Compare the amplitude of vibrations of the tumbler in the two cases. In which case is the amplitude larger? Loudness of sound is proportional to the square of the amplitude of vibration producing the sound. For example, if the amplitude becomes twice, loudness increases by a factor of 4. Loudness is expressed in a unit called decibel, that is dB. Following tables give some idea of the loudness of sound coming from various sources. Normal breathing 10 dB, soft whisper 30 dB, normal conversation 60 dB, busy traffic 70 dB, average factory 80 dB. Above 80 dB the noise becomes physically painful. Loudness of sounds depends on its amplitude. When the amplitude of vibration is large, the sound produced is loud. When the amplitude is small, the sound produced is feeble. Compare the sound of a baby with that of an adult. Is there any difference? Even if two sounds are equally loud, they differ in some way. The frequency determines the shrillness or pitch of a sound. The frequency of vibration is higher, we say that sound is shriller and has a higher pitch. Frequency of vibration lower, we say the sound has a lower pitch. A drum vibrates with a low frequency. Therefore, it produces a low pitched sound. On the other hand, a whistle has a high frequency and therefore produces a sound of higher pitch. A bird makes a high pitched sound, whereas a lion makes a low pitched roar. However, the roar of a lion is very loud, while the sound of a bird is quite feeble. Every day you hear the voices of children and adults. Do you find any difference in their voices? Can you say that the frequency of the voice of a child is higher than that of an adult? Usually, the voice of a woman has a higher frequency than that of a man. Audible and inaudible sounds. We know that we need a vibrating body for the production of sound. Can we hear the sound of all vibrating bodies? The fact is the sound of frequencies less than about 20 vibrations per second cannot be detected by the human ear. Such sounds are called inaudible. On the higher side, the sound of frequencies higher than 20,000 vibrations per second are also audible to the human ear. Thus, for human ear, the range of audible frequencies is roughly from 20 to 20,000 Hz. Some animals can hear sounds of frequencies higher than 20,000 Hz. Dogs have the ability. The police use high-frequency whistles, which dogs can hear, but humans cannot. Ultrasound equipment, familiar to us for investigating and tracking many medical problems, works at frequencies higher than 20,000 Hz. Noise and music. We hear different types of sounds around us. Is the sound always pleasing? Does the sound sometimes cause discomfort to you? Some sounds are pleasant to the ear, whereas some are not. Suppose construction work is going on in your neighborhood. Are the sounds coming from the construction site pleasing? Construction site il varuna sound രസമുള്ളതാണോ? അല്ല. Do you enjoy the sounds produced by horns of buses and trucks? Such unpleasant sounds are called noise. In a classroom, if all the students speak together, what would be the sound produced? On the other hand, you enjoy sounds from musical instruments. Musical sound is one which is pleasing to the ear. Sound produced by harmonium is a musical sound. String of a sitar also gives a musical sound. But if a musical sound becomes too loud, it would remain melodious. Noise pollution. Already know about air pollution. Presence of unwanted gases and particles in air is called air pollution. Similarly, presence of excessive or unwanted sound in the environment is called noise pollution. Can you list some sources of noise pollution? Major causes of noise pollution are sounds of vehicles, explosions including bursting of crackers, machine, loudspeakers, etc. What sources in the home may lead to noise? television and transistor, radio at high volume, some kitchen appliances, desert coolers, air conditioners all contribute to noise pollution. What are the harms of noise pollution? Do you know the presence of excessive noise in the surroundings may cause many health related problems? Lack of sleep or kilima, hypertension that is high blood pressure, anxiety, jignasa, and many more related health disorders may be caused by noise pollution. A person who is exposed to a loud sound continuously may get temporary or even permanent impairment of hearing. Measures to limit noise pollution. To control noise, we must control the sources of noise. How can this be achieved? For this, silencing devices must be installed in aircraft machines, engines, transport vehicles, industrial machines, and home appliances. How can the noise pollution be controlled in a residential area? All noisy operations must be conducted away from any residential area. Noise producing industries should be set up away from such areas. Use of automobile horns should be minimized. TV and music system should be run at low volume. Trees must be planted along the roads, around buildings to cut down on the sounds reaching the residents, thus reducing harmful effects of noise pollution. Hearing impairment. Total hearing impairment, which is rare, is usually from birth itself. Partial disability is generally the result of a disease, injury, or age. Children with impaired hearing need special care. By learning sign language, such children can communicate effectively. Because speech develops as a direct result of hearing, a child with a hearing loss may have defective speech also. Technological devices for the hearing impaired have made it possible for such persons to improve their quality of life. Society can do much to improve the living environment for the hearing impaired and help them live normal lives. Keywords: amplitude, eardrum, frequency, hertz, larynx, loudness, noise, oscillation, pitch, time period, vibration, voice box, windpipe. Sound is produced by vibrating objects. In human beings, vibration of the vocal cord produces sound. Sound travels through a medium, cannot travel in vacuum. Eardrum senses the vibration of the sound. It sends the signals to the brain. This process is called hearing. Number of oscillations of vibration per second is the frequency of oscillation. Frequency expressed in hertz. Larger the amplitude of vibration, the louder is the sound. Higher the frequency of vibration, higher is the pitch and shriller is the sound. Unpleasant sounds are called noise. Excessive or unwanted sounds lead to noise pollution. Noise pollution may pose the health problems for human beings. Attempts should be made to minimize noise pollution. Plantation on the roadside and elsewhere can reduce noise pollution. So that's all about this chapter. If you are interested, please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Okay, thank you.